The rain fell in sheets, blurring the neon signs into a watercolor mess of red, blue, and gold. For Kenshin, it was as if he'd been dropped into a sorcerer's dream. One moment, he was in the tranquil quiet of his dojo, the scent of cherry blossoms and oiled steel in the air. The next, he was here, in this place. Towering structures of glass and metal pierced the heavens, and horseless carriages roared past, their single, glaring eyes cutting through the downpour. The air was thick with smells he couldn't name, acrid smoke, sweet perfumes, and the aroma of strange foods cooking on every corner. People rushed by, their faces illuminated by small, glowing rectangles held in their hands, their voices a babble of an unfamiliar dialect. He clutched the hilt of his katana, the familiar way to small comfort in this overwhelming new reality. Was this the work of a yokai? A cruel trick of the kitsune? He stood frozen, a relic from a forgotten age, as the future washed over him. He needed shelter, a place to think. Kenshin moved with a practiced grace that was jarringly out of place amidst the hurried steps of the city dwellers. He found a small park, a patch of green amidst the concrete jungle. The rain had softened to a drizzle, and the park was nearly empty. He sat on a wooden bench, the dampness seeping through his akama. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the impossible. Where was he? How did he get here? And more importantly, how would he get back? He looked at his hands, calloused from years of wielding a sword. They were the same hands that had just polished his blade moments, or was it centuries ago? The world he knew, the code of Bushido, the honor he lived by, felt a million miles away. He was adrift, a lone samurai on an ocean of noise and light. His gaze fell upon a small, black object lying on the bench beside him. It was a perfect rectangle, smooth and cool to the touch. He'd seen others holding these strange talismans. He picked it up cautiously. It was impossibly thin, lighter than any lacquered box he'd ever held. The front was a single, dark, reflective surface, like a shard of obsidian. He turned it over. A symbol, a partially eaten piece of fruit, was etched into the back. What sorcery was this? He poked the dark surface with his finger. Nothing happened. He grew bolder, tapping it with more force. Still nothing. His suspicion grew. This was no ordinary object. It held a power he did not understand, and that made it dangerous. He drew his katana just an inch from its soyo, the polished wood of the sheath glinting in the dim park light. He used the tip of the scabbard, the kojiri, to press against the dark surface. Suddenly, the rectangle lit up, blinding him for a second. An array of colorful icons appeared, tiny paintings arranged in neat rows. Kenshin recoiled, his hand instinctively going to his sword hilt. He had activated it. He studied the glowing icons. Each was a miniature work of art, some depicting scrolls, others gears, or strange, abstract symbols. He touched one at random, a green square with a white pictograph of a communication device. The screen changed, showing a list of names he did not recognize. He was looking at someone's personal effects, their correspondence. A pang of dissonance struck him. He quickly pressed the single button on the device's side, and the screen went dark again. He let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. This device was a portal, a window into another person's life. His curiosity, however, was now a raging fire. He had to understand this thing. He pressed the button again, and the colorful icons returned. His finger hovered over the screen. He saw one icon that looked like a lens, a miniature representation of the spyglasses Dutch traders sometimes brought. He tapped it. The world in front of him appeared on the screen, a perfect, moving image of the rain-slicked path and the distant, glowing buildings. It was capturing the world in real time. He moved the device, and the image moved with it. Astounding. This was beyond any magic he had ever heard of. He saw a small icon in the corner, a circle of arrows. Driven by an instinct he didn't understand, he pressed it. The image on the screen flipped, and he saw a face he knew better than his own, yet had only ever seen as a distorted reflection in the steel of his blade or the still water of a pond. It was his own face, staring back at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. His topknot was slightly askew, and raindrops clung to his brow. But the expression, it was one of pure shock. He saw himself blink, and the man in the rectangle blinked back. He moved his head, and the image mirrored his every motion. A cold dread washed over him. They had captured him. This device, this sorcerer's box, had stolen a piece of his soul and trapped it within its glass prison. This was a dark art, a violation of his very being. His training took over. A trapped spirit, a reflection come to life. It was an enemy to be faced. With a guttural cry that echoed through the quiet park, Kenshin dropped the device and drew his katana. The blade sang as it left the soya, a whisper of steel that promised death. He fell into a low stance, the tip of his sword pointed directly at the face on the screen. The man in the box did the same, his own sword a perfect, silent mirror. "Who are you?" Kenshin snarled, his voice a low growl. "What foul demon dares to wear my face?" The man in the box mouthed the same words, his expression a perfect copy of Kenshin's own righteous fury. This only enraged him further. It was mocking him, taunting him with his own image. He prepared to strike, to shatter the glass prison and release whatever spirit was trapped inside, or destroy it in the attempt. Just as he was about to lunge, a small voice cut through his concentration. "Whoa, cool sword." He froze, his muscles tense. A small child, no older than 10, stood a few feet away, holding a bright red ball. The boy wasn't scared, he was curious. He looked from Kenshin's sword to the phone on the ground, then back to Kenshin. "Are you trying to fight your selfie?" the boy asked, a grin spreading across his face. Kenshin remained silent, his warrior's mind unable to process the situation. Selfie. What was a selfie? The boy, seeing his confusion, bravely stepped forward. He pointed at the phone. "You just have the camera flipped. Here." Before Kenshin could react, the child picked up the phone. His small fingers moved with incredible speed, swiping across the screen. The image of Kenshin's face vanished, replaced by the park path. Then, with a few more taps, a new image appeared, a screen filled with colorful, falling fruit. The boy handed the phone back to Kenshin. "It's a game," he said simply. "You just swipe the fruit to cut it. Like this." He took Kenshin's finger and guided it across the screen. A digital swoosh sound emanated from the device as a watermelon split in two. Kenshin stared, mesmerized. He swiped again, on his own this time, slicing a pineapple. Then an orange. A strange sense of satisfaction washed over him. It was like sword practice, but with no effort, no danger. Slice, slice, slice. A combo bonus flashed on the screen. Kenshin's stern, battle-hardened face, the face that had stared down death 100 times, began to change. The corner of his mouth twitched. He sliced a banana, a strawberry, and a kiwi in a single, fluid motion. A smile, genuine and wide, broke across his face. The child giggled. "See? It's easy." Kenshin looked from the glowing screen to the child, then back again. In this strange, bewildering world, maybe not everything was an enemy. Some of the magic, it seemed, was just for fun. He sheathed his katana, the sound a final, decisive click in the quiet park. He had a new skill to master. Thanks for watching our story today. If you enjoyed Kenshin's journey, don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures.